small southern town. And every day they see each other on their way to church. And they ride bicycles, so they say hello as they pass each other on their way to the churches. But one day, one of the preachers notices that the other one is walking. Hey brother, where's your bicycle? Well, my heart is heavy, for I fear a member of my congregation has stolen my bicycle. That's horrible. And then he thought for a minute and he said, I know how you might get your bicycle back. Next Sunday, you should preach about the 10 Commandments. And when you get to the part where it's thou shalt not steal, really bear down on it and hit it hard. And maybe the thief will feel guilty and return your bike. Okay, I'll try that. Sure enough, the following Monday, the preacher who was walking now is riding his bike again. I see my plan worked, said the one who came up with the idea for the sermon. Well, not exactly. I did like you said, and I gave a real fire and brimstone sermon on the 10 Commandments. Except when I got to the part where it says, thou shalt not commit adultery, I remembered where I left my bike. That story is very representative of our world today. It's filled with fear and anxiety and blame. There's a general perception that there is someone out there waiting to victimize us, to steal from us, whether it's our possessions or our identities or even our lives. There's someone out there who has it in their heart to hurt us. And you know what? The trouble is that fear is based on truth. We live in a dangerous world. And if we're not careful, something bad could happen to us. But what that story also tells us is that quite often bad things that could happen to us were often precipitated by something we did. It was either an action of ours, or it was the power of our thoughts, our fears, acting like magnets and attracting the situation to us. Remember, your thoughts are things. So yes, the drumbeat of major media is to build and maintain that pervasive atmosphere of fear and anxiety. The airwaves are filled with bad story after tragic story after frightening story. A financial commentator that my wife listens to all the time, her name is Catherine Austin Fitz, calls it the shriekometer. And if we can buy into what they're selling on the shriekometer, we can spend our lives immersed in a state of paralyzing fear that immobilizes us as well as our lives. On the other hand, we can choose not to drink the Kool-Aid. We can choose not to do that to ourselves. Last week, Reverend Ron Skoronsky shared with us a quote from the Dalai Lama. That quote was, "The purpose of religion is to control yourself and to not criticize others." To criticize others is to look upon others and make judgments about them. You're bad, or you're good, or I don't know about you. The Bible, in the book of Matthew, verse 7, verses 1 through 5, admonishes us not to do that. It says, "Judge not, that ye may not be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye met, it shall be measured to you again. And why beholdest thou the mote that is in thy brother's eye, but considereth not the beam that is in thine own eye? Or how wilt thou say to thy brother, Let me pull out the mote out of thine eye, and behold, a beam is in thine own eye, thy hypocrite, thou hypocrite. First cast out the beam out of thine own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of their brother's eye. In other words, look to yourself. Look to yourself. Last week, Ron Skaronski also pointed out that there are two people in history that everybody judges harshly and for whom nobody prays. They're Judas Iscariot, and the man who was Jesus' best friend who betrayed him to the Romans, and Hitler, the man who has been credited with killing over 6 million people. Now, when Ron said that, it caught my attention. True, they did commit some very heinous acts, at least as far as the story goes. Yet according to spiritualist principle number 8, we affirm that the doorway to reformation is never closed against any soul, here or hereafter. But as time goes on, secrets are being revealed. For example, on the issue of the betrayal of Judas, we've learned that documents discovered in the Egyptian desert in 1970 contain something known as the Gospel of Judas. And those documents reveal a different story. According to the Gospel of Judas, Jesus and Judas were very close friends. And Jesus shared knowledge with Judas that he did not share with any of the other disciples. In fact, Jesus asked Judas to do something quite terrible. He assigned him the task of betraying him so that his spirit could be freed from his physical body. Apparently, Jesus told Judas, "You will be cursed by the generations, and you will come to rule over them." So it was a plan. Judas and Jesus had a plan that nobody talks about. These documents have been examined and tested and found to be authentic. And these Gospels did not appear out of nowhere. They are references to the Gospel of Judas found in ancient writings all over the place. It's just the church, the established church, discounts them and says they are lies because they do not fit in with the narrative. But what do we know? That happened 2,000 years ago. How could we know the whole story? How can we judge based on the stories we've been told? You know, we've even got that problem today. We are being told stories when we don't know the whole truth. For instance, remember originally I heard about the heroic policeman in the Texas school shooting. Then later we learned that actually they weren't heroic. They were hiding out and refused to go into the school while the shooting was going on. For a whole hour, they cowered outside. So how can we judge anything from what we've heard unless we find out for ourselves? Remember the book of Matthew says, "Judge not that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." Judging others, declaring people and situations good or bad, is a slippery slope. It not only diminishes us, but it puts our focus outside of ourselves. Remember the Dalai Lama said, the purpose of religion is to control yourself. That has been a caution repeated over and over and over again over thousands of years by spiritual master after spiritual master after spiritual master. They have told us the answer lies within. We're not our bodies. We're greater than our bodies. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. I've been lately watching this HBO series called The Man Who Fell to Earth. It's about a man from another planet who comes to Earth on a mission to save his planet. And since he's so physically different from us, he has to disguise himself to appear to be human. And he calls his human body a skin suit. Our spiritual selves have taken on skin suits, but we are not our skin suits. Our skin suits are merely our vehicles here on earth as we go about our mission to grow spiritually. That is why we're here, to grow spiritually. We've come here to grow and develop spiritually so that we may eventually rise to the higher planes of existence. We encounter challenges here on earth, on the physical plane, to confront us and to compel us to go deep within, to go deep within, to go deep within and find and nurture the connection that is between us and infinite intelligence. Remember our first spiritualist principle. We believe in infinite intelligence. And our second spiritualist principle, we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. Our bodies and our egos tell us something different because they want to control the narrative. They want to consume that drug of power and self-importance. And that drug, believe me, is intoxicating. I can remember the euphoria of tasting that drug of power when I was a producer in Hollywood. I remember the feeling of superiority when I was riding around in chauffeured limousines, looking out the window at those lowly beings who were walking or taking public transportation, or God forbid, driving their own cars. I remember the thrill of the arrogance I felt as young, beautiful women vied for my attention because I had the power to put them on television. It was exhilarating. But I also remember the devastating sensation of my heart being ripped out and overwhelmed with shame when I lost it all and ended up being homeless. That drug of power and ego comes with a physical body that can drive you crazy with its needs and make you commit harmful acts against your own self. There's a story in the teaching of Islam about a couple of angels. You see, the angels rebelled to God about their job of protecting human beings. They were actually pretty astonished at the acts of arrogance and disobedience committed by these lowly human beings on earth. The angels claimed that the humans were actually a waste of time and they didn't understand why they had to take care of them. They felt they could do a much better job than these humans are doing. So God says, okay, give me two of your best. So they found Harut and Marut. And Harut and Marut then descended to earth, taking on human bodies and all the things that go along with occupying a human body. During their stay on earth, they fell in love with a woman named Zora, who's often identified with Venus, very, very powerful woman. And she told them that they could become lovers if they joined her in worshiping idols, and if they shared their secrets on how to ascend to heaven. They said, no, we can't do that. And they stayed pious, strong, proud. But time passed and they ran into her again. But this time she took a different tack. She says, we can have a good time together. Let's have a couple of drinks. And they said, well, alcohol, that shouldn't be much of a problem. Okay, we'll have a couple of drinks with you. To say they got drunk would be an understatement. They got hammered after only a couple of drinks because they'd never had it before. And of course, they fell into bed with her, and while they were indulging in debauchery, they noticed that a man witnessed what they were up to. They could not be discovered. They could not have their transgressions told on them. So they panicked. And they chased him down, and they killed him. Then the next day, Harut and Marut, after they had sobered up, realized with horror what they had done. But now it's too late. Their transgressions broke their links with heaven, and they were forced to live out their lives on earth. But the angels took the lesson, and they have since taken pity on these lowly human beings. They have dedicated themselves to try and help us and protect us in any way they can because of what we must go through down here on earth, having to deal with these human bodies. So yes, we live in a cesspool of danger, anger, decay, selfishness, and shame. But what we must realize is that we are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence, and that we don't need to drink the poison. We don't need to get caught up in the chaos. Yes, entertaining the idea of changing the world can be overwhelming, because when you look out at it, it's just so much stuff to be taken care of, so much stuff that needs changing. The ugliness that surrounds us as we look out can be overwhelming. But all is not darkness. There is beauty, magnificent beauty, heart thrilling beauty. There are also places of sacred peace. And there are also millions of other people who are seekers, just like we are, looking for love and harmony and peace. And what we must learn is that our physical reality is merely a reflection of our inner reality. Physical reality is a mirror, so our attention should not be directed outward as we seek to bring about change. If you see something in the mirror that you don't like, you don't try and change the mirror, you go and you find what it is that is being reflected and work there. It's so exhausting and inefficient to try and change the physical. It is indeed. I can remember being a community activist, putting in 14-hour days, 6 to 8 weeks, trying to save the community, trying to protect the community from corrupt politicians and greedy developers. I can remember driving 90 miles to the Sacramento, the state capital of California, to argue before the state assembly to pull a bill that would hurt our community. The legislators were so moved by my pleas and my statements that they pulled the bill off the agenda. Wow. 3 weeks later, after everything cooled down, they put it back on the agenda. And I went through that exercise 3 times, going up, pleading, they pulled it off, they wait a few weeks and they put it back on. I finally realized that I was outnumbered and outflanked, and they didn't care about what I had, what our community had to lose to the developers. They were not being paid by us. I'm reminded of one of the lyrics from the Eminem song, Guts Over Fear. Because I can't explain to y'all how dang exhausted my legs felt just having to balance my dang self when on eggshells I was made to walk. Now the work is not outside yourself. The work must take place within ourselves. And the changes inside will bring about changes outside in our personal reality, in our physical reality. Remember, nothing in the universe is solid. It is all vibrating, so it can be changed. We can bring about changes in our own reality. We can lift ourselves out of this chaos and fear and danger into a life of peace and love. How? How? By acknowledging that we're not alone. By acknowledging that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. By acknowledging that focusing on the connection between us and infinite intelligence deep within ourselves through meditation, through contemplation, through prayer is the answer. We can call on the protection of the angels. They've learned their lesson, and they're right there waiting to help us. We can lay claim to the peace that passes understanding. We can be empowered beyond measure, as it is told to us in the 91st Psalm. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you say, the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you. No disaster will come near your tent. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against the stone. You will tread upon the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because He loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue Him. I will protect Him, for He acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer Him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. And with long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. The point of power is in you. It's always there. It's always been there. It never leaves you because it is part of you. The kingdom of heaven is within. Be at peace. Thank you. Thank you for watching us. Please click on the thumbs up button below. And if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I'd love to hear from you. Your thoughts, your questions, your suggestions, your stories. I'd love to hear from you. So please use the comment section below the video. Remember, you can support this ministry by going to my website at bozemandevelopment.com and choosing Please Donate. Or you can use my Cash app at $Andre Amron. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your support. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.